What is up guys, Kaido here, and today we're going to be talking about how to handle classes and how to use the skill tree. So we have a new update here where we have, instead of the old skill system, now we have a skill tree where we can set these kind of links here to enable certain skills, active skills of course, and or passive skills that either buff certain active skills or buff the character itself. So this skill tree here is dynamic, meaning that you can create your own skill tree however you want from the widget itself, and then transfer its data to the skill component, which we'll take a look at later. When it comes to skill tree, each class has its own skill tree. And of course you can also make it so all classes share the same skill tree, but of course with skill trees we have skill points which we can spend on our skills here. Skill points are gained whenever you level up, or also can be gained through items such as a skill book that we have here in our inventory. So I can select what skills I want to enable, then click apply here, and of course this is also replicated. So for example, this is an active skill that we can of course spec here, but of course skills also have level requirement. Since I'm level 1 here, even though I do have the points, I cannot enable this skill right here because it requires level 2. So I can, for example, spend my points on these two passive skills. If I click apply, as you can see, the line there change its color. Of course, this is just a visual effect. We can change that as well. So before we talk about skills here, let's go ahead and talk about how to handle classes, how to set them up, set their starting stats and items as well. So in this case, if I select the inventory component inside the player controller, we have player class 1. So if I go ahead and play, as you can see, my player here or character has an axe and a shield, and of course this is its skill tree. However, if I change to class 2, and of course I'm going to spawn with a bow as a starting item, and of course my skill tree changes here to reflect new skills according to that class, of course, or specific to a certain class. So let's go ahead and see how to handle that. So what we want to do here is we want to go to character here, so character, blueprints, then lobby, and then we have class setup. So we have this data table right here where we can indicate our class settings. Since we have 5 classes, and of course we can add more, we have, for example, that class number 1. So the most important thing here is that you want to indicate their classes here. Make sure, of course, there are no duplicates here. So class 1, class 2, 3, 4, 5. Of course, you can give it a name. You can give it a description. This is also shown in the lobby map. We'll see that later. So what you can do here is you can, for example, for our class 1, we can say that this class is a warrior class. And we can indicate the equip primary, which is the axe from the weapons data table. And our secondary would be a shield in this case. And of course, if you don't want to equip any weapon, you can just leave it none. The inventory starting items here, we can indicate what items are available by default in our inventory here. So if I go ahead and play here and open our inventory, we can see here that we have some starting items. So we have these scrolls right here, which also added in this new update. This resets your skill points, gain 2 skill points, reset your stats, like these attributes right here. So we have 10 here. So if I spend them here, for example, I can spend all on strength, apply. So I have 17 strength. I can use this right here to reset my stats. So if I can go here, I gain back that 10 stats. So these are your starting items, of course, and you can indicate them in this data table, DT class setups. So you can simply indicate the item ID from the data table and where and what data table, of course. You can also indicate the count. And of course, the initial stats. So each class, of course, is going to have different stats. For example, a warrior would have, for example, 15 strength, whereas a mage would only have maybe 2 strength, but of course more intelligence. So here you can indicate what starting stats for each class, and of course if I play here, I can see them reflect on my stats or attributes here. So I can see here that I have 7 strength, 5 intelligence, but if I change to, for example, a warrior here, which is class number 1, I'm going to have, of course, more strength here. So I have 20 strength, of course, I do gain more strength from my weapon here. So if, I had 15 in my starting stats, plus 5, that would be 20, and that's what I have here. Of course, these settings right here are applied whenever you play with a certain class in the editor here, or if you use, for example, the lobby map here. So we have this lobby map right here where we can create, we can play, of course, with loadout created characters. Also have a basic setting window here. So you can create a new character, for example. Here, click on new, it's going to load those classes right there. So as you can see, we have, for example, mage. It shows these main attributes here. So warrior would have more strength, of course, and mage would have more intelligence, for example. The class description is available in that same data table. You can select a name and of course create the character. And later you can select your character, for example, here. So I can go ahead and click next, of course, set the map name here. This is placeholder, of course. You can make it so maybe the map name is loaded from somewhere else. I can, of course, play offline or host a game or join a game here. So if I play offline, it should load my warrior here with, of course, its equipment and level, etc. And speaking of saving and loading, of course, you can press escape or M. And you can have this menu right here where you can save the game or load your game. So you can save your game if you loaded the game with a character or a saved character. Then of course the save is going to be applied to that character, so you can continue on later on. And of course you can load the game as well. If you want to implement some sort of auto save, for example, you can use the inventory component inside the player controller here and just call save content. And this will save. This is a server function that can, of course, save the content of your character in case you want to do some sort of autosave or something like that. Now let's go ahead and talk about the skill tree here. So when it comes to a skill tree, let's go ahead and skills here, widgets, and then skill tree. So we have these 3 skills right here. If you want to create a new skill tree, you can simply duplicate this. So if I go ahead and just duplicate this and call it skill tree 4, then open that. So like I said, this skill tree is dynamic. For example, you can move this here. As you can see, it's going to update the lines automatically. We can create links to other skills and select. You can also make it so a passive skill supports an active skill, or like I said, these passive skills right here can add stats to the character. So let's go ahead and start from scratch. So what you want to do here, we're going to delete all of these. So the main thing that you want to do here is you want to add your skills in this main canvas. And what you want to do here is you want to add the skill container. So BP skill container, and you want to add it right here. So the first thing you want to do here is change the size. So we can maybe make it like 100 by 100. So we can set the size to 100 by 100, and of course size to content. If we set it to true, then it will of course set the size according to what we set here. So the first thing you want to do here is indicate whether the skill is an active skill or a passive skill. So this is going to be an active skill right here. So active skills are like handled inside DT skills. These are active skills. For example, our basic attack, spin attack, heal, etc. So we already have a video talking about active skills and how to add them. So these are your active skills. For example, our basic attack here, we can take that item ID there or skill ID and paste that here, skill tree ID. So this is only needed for active skills. Like I said, passive skills can be directly created inside here. But if the skill is an active skill, then you have to provide the item ID from the data table right here, DT skills. This unique ID here, you can either indicate the unique ID yourself manually. Just make sure that unique ID does not exist. So in this case, we're going to let the skill tree assign that unique ID by itself, and we'll see that later. The image is going to be taken from the data table here, but we can also indicate some image here just to preview it in skill tree there. Let's go ahead and duplicate that and add a new one. So I'm going to do Control W there to duplicate another skill. I can call it, for example, skill 2 here. So for example, if I want to link these 2 skills, let's say that this, for example, is some sort of, well, let's add another spin attack here. So whenever you add another skill, you need to assign the parent. Let's say that this is our root skill here, and we're going to, of course, start from this and of course branch out to other skills. So what I can do here is I can select this skill right here, and we have parent skill. So parent skill wants a skill container from this canvas right here. So as you can see, you have skill container tree, which is of course these right here. So it's very important that you want to name them, so it's easier to select your skills, of course. So for example, here I can do basic attack, for example, and I can do here spin attack. Now of course I can select this and see what is the parent skill. Is going to be basic attack, and as you can see here, once I do that, it creates a link automatically, and of course it's dynamic like I said, so you can move it around however you want. Of course we can add more, for example another skill here. Let's say that this time it's a passive, so I'm going to duplicate one of these and let's just name it, for example, basic attack damage boost, for example. Let's say that it's a passive skill that adds more damage to our basic attacks. So it's going to be a parent skill of this is going to be basic attack, and as you can see, once again the link is created there. So we can change the image here, for example. Let's see if I have a boost here, so damage boost right there. So this is very important whenever you create a passive skill that supports an active skill. In this case we have this skill right here, passive skill, of course very important. We want to make sure that the type here is passive. So this passive skill right here is going to support this active skill, meaning that it will increase its damage, for example. So supporting skill here is going to be basic attack. So this passive skill right here supports this basic attack. So the most important thing here to remember is if the skill is an active skill, you need to provide the ID from here. So in this case, spin attack is going to be spin attack. We need to set it right here. And if it's a passive skill, we don't need to assign any ID because the passive skill is going to be handled inside the tree itself. So we can go ahead and add another passive skill right here. For example, we can add some fire damage to the basic attack here. So I can, of course, I can either link it to the basic attack itself, or I can just continue from here as well. And by the way, if you want to align these better, you can change the position X and Y here to have them aligned perfectly. But in this case, I can either, let me go ahead and do, for example, fire. So let's just say that we want to add some fire damage to our basic attack. So like I said, we can either link it to the basic attack here. So I can do parent would be basic attack right there, or I can link it here. So continue on, or continue the chain like so. So I can select this one right here. I can just copy the name there and do parent and change it to this instead. There you go. I can of course name this here, so I can just do fire boost. And by the way, if you want to change the line color, you can select the BP skill tree background here. You can have line 10, for example, if you want to do something like so. And this is of course when you activate a certain skill, is going to change to that. So let's just go ahead and set it to white for now. So when it comes to passive skills and how they work, of course, let's not forget to set the supporting skill here would be basic attack, right, like so. So when it comes to passive skills, we have some settings right here. So for example, this, let's just say that this increases the damage of basic attack. So if we scroll down here, so you want to select the skill first and then scroll down to passive skill settings. This only applies to passive skills. So we have a trigger chance. So this is whenever you cast this spell, the active spell, we have a trigger chance on the passive skills to support this active skill. If we set it to 100%, then it's going to always apply that passive boost to this active skill right here. So I can say that, for example, 50% chance to increase the damage by 50, or let's just say 25%. So in this case, what we indicated here is that we have a 50% chance whenever we cast the basic attack, we have a 50% chance to increase the damage of basic attack by 25%. Do something else. This is something else that you could perhaps add at runtime, and this is we can access this inside the skills, the skill blueprint that is spawned by the attack. You can of course provide a name and description. This is just for the tooltip. We have effects right here. So for example, I want to add or apply some fire damage whenever I hit someone with this basic attack. We'll talk about this later because we're going to add maybe another passive skill there. So we need to go to new added effect. So here we have, for example, let's just say 20 fire damage. And of course, I'm going to select the type here. It's going to be fire damage, like so. When it comes to added effects, like I said, we can either add a new damage type, such as a fire damage or some bleeding as well. So in that case, you do need to indicate the damage here. If you want to add maybe some sort of movement slow or movement boost, then in this case, you do it right here. You do it right here, effect movement speed. And then if you want to apply maybe a stun, so maybe you want to add, you want to make this basic attack, maybe apply a stun whenever you hit the target. You can of course add it right here. Once you select what effects are added, you want to indicate the duration here. For example, they'll whenever I hit someone with basic attack, they will take 20 fire damage for maybe 5 seconds every 1 second. When it comes to this section right here, effects, we can make it so we boost the effects damage. For example, since this basic attack right now applies 20 fire damage when hit, of course, if we have this activated, we can add another passive skills to even to further boost this fire damage. So I can just copy this right here. I can do this. Let's just do 2 right there. So the parent will be this, like so. So create the link, and the supporting skill is going to be the basic attack. So in this case, so this one right here, like I said, it adds fire damage whenever you hit someone with a basic attack. So we added a new damage type to our basic attack. So we'll use this right here to, of course, increase that damage. So we don't want to add a new damage. Actually, we want to just increase the damage of this right here. Or, of course, the damage of a basic attack right here. So skill effects damage boost, we can increase that damage maybe by 50%. And of course, the trigger chance here is 100%. So with this alone, so what we've done here is that we added 3 passive skills to this active attack, or to this basic attack. We increased the damage by 50%, by 25%, but it only happens 50% of the time. So we have 50% to increase the damage by 25%. We have 100% that whenever we hit someone with a basic attack, the target takes 20 fire damage for 5 seconds every 1 second. And with this, we made it so that now we increase the damage of our fire damage by 50%, which means that whenever we hit someone with our basic attack, they will actually take 30 fire damage, because 20 from here, and then we increase that fire damage by 50%, which makes it 30, of course. So now whenever I hit someone with a basic attack, they will take 30 fire damage for 5 seconds. Every second, of course, and there's a 50% chance here that the physical damage of basic attack will increase by 25%. So once you're done with your skill tree here, of course, you can branch out to other skills here. For example, if I want to make it so my character maybe gains some stats, for example, I can maybe add some fire resistance, for example. So this is going to link to, so this is going to be a passive. It's not going to support anything because it doesn't support an active skill. It supports our character stats. So in that case, we don't indicate anything here. But we do need to indicate a parent. So maybe we'll do it maybe from here. So I'm going to copy this, and then I'm going to go here, parent skill. It's going to be this. So in this case, it's going to, of course, be 100% there. So we don't care about these. So go ahead and clear them out. So all we care about is character stats. We can add new stats to or we can add more stats to our character. So in this case, I can say that, for example, I want to add some fire resistance here. So if I look for fire resistance, like so, and I can add, for example, 25% fire resistance. So now if I activate this, my character will gain 25% fire resistance. Of course, you can add you can add multiple stats here. It doesn't have to be one. You can add many stats here. So for example, I want to add even maybe armor. Why not? I can make it so my character maybe gains 10 armor. So if I activate this, they will gain fire resistance and 10 armor. And of course, don't forget that you can indicate the required level here. And active is whether the skill is active by default. So for example, basic attack, you can make it so it's active by default. Once you're done with your skill tree, you want to go to the player controller, and we have a class skill tree component right here. If we click on it, we have 5 entries here, of course, corresponding to our 5 classes here. So if I want to assign this maybe to our 4th class right here, So as you can see, this has tree widget. So here you need to indicate the skill tree widget that you want to use. In this case, we're going to use skill tree 4. So skill tree 4. So this is for class number 5. So it starts from 0, 1, 2, 3. So let's just go ahead and make it so class 5 will use this skill tree. Initial action bar, here you can indicate what skills are automatically assigned to the action bar. In this case, we're gonna make it so we have basic attack assigned by default, and server tree. So since we set up our tree in a widget, we need to generate the server data. The reason why we do this is because a server doesn't use widgets. So a dedicated server is not gonna use a widget. So we can't really access this data right here. So what we need to do here is you need to select the root or the main root widget right here. So the first item right here. And then if we scroll down here, we're going to have server data. So very important, you can either make it so auto assign unique ID. So this will make it so the unique ID is going to be assigned by default or automatically right here. Or you can, of course, assign it yourself, but make sure that there are the unique ID is not repeated. So unique ID for each skill right here. But of course, you can make it so it auto assigns the unique ID, so you don't have to worry about it. So if you click on generate server data, as you can see here, it's going to add 6 elements, and these 6 elements are of course your skills right here. So what you want to do here is you want to copy this data. So right click and do copy, and then you want to go to your component here and then paste this data right here. So as you can see here, we have 23 elements. So what you want to do here is you want to do paste, and this is going to be paste the skill tree data to this component. If we expand this right here, as you can see, it says required level 1, basic attack, unique ID node 0, parent skill, supporting skill, etc. So all of these settings corresponding to what we handled or set up inside our skill tree. So very important, once you modify, if you modify or change your skill tree, make sure that you do this. So come back here, auto assign true preferably, and then of course if you just enable this, it's going to generate the server data, and once again copy and paste it inside the skill tree. So now if we go ahead and play, of course once you're done you can leave it false if you want. So now if we go ahead and select class number 5 here in our inventory component, and then go ahead and play, you're gonna notice if I press K here, as you can see, this is my skill tree. So this is active by default because that's what we set. And since I have 3 points right here, I can assign these right here to apply. So that's how easy it is to create a skill tree. You can of course go wild with this. You can create all sort of branching for the skill tree, and you can of course assign it to a certain class, and don't forget to copy and paste your server data here. So definitely check out the other tree and see how they're set up right here. So for example, stats, like I said, it's just a matter of indicating or added stats right here. So strength 20, you can see how we added damage right here. So 100% to add 15%, 10% chance to stun the target. And right here we have all sort of supports for this spin and attack. We have damage boost, movement slow -10. So this is percentage based. You can either do -10 to reduce movement speed, or +10 maybe to add movement speed. Also we have duration here if you want to add a duration to a certain buff, like so. Added fire damage, and of course even increasing that fire damage even further. Duration as well. These are stats, these are active skills, these of course are stats. So that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and until then, thank you for watching, stay safe, and see you later. Goodbye.